Everybody, I'm just recording a quick note to talk to you a little bit about the literary analysis paper, which you got the details of in the February 12th module. This will be a research paper that goes into several aspects of the book Educated by Tara Westover. Hopefully you have completed that. Oh, by the way, I've got a couple of dogs here, so if they get a little crazy, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so hopefully you've completed that, or you want to get that read soon. That way you can go ahead with the book, or excuse me, with the paper. So rather than just read all of this to you, I'm looking at the document that's listed in today's in this week's module. I want to talk to you though a little bit about the structure of the paper. It's very specific. You can almost think of it as like little. It has its own little sections. So the first section is the introduction. And notice there is a word count range for all of it. I want you to make sure that you're adhering to those word counts. That gives you an idea of how far into something I want you to get, but then also without going way too far. Also, it also keeps this balanced where, you know, you're not just completely doing biographical sketch, you're also doing the necessary amount of the historical setting and the other things like that. So the introduction is 75 to 125 words. This should consist of a well-structured intro to your author and work. The last sentence of the introduction should be a strong thesis statement that should let your reader know the focus of your paper. So whatever you think is your main takeaway from Educated or Tara Westover's work, then, hey guys, don't fight. Anyway, that would possibly be your thesis statement for that introduction. The second section is the biographical sketch. So in 300 to 400 words, we want me to go in and talk about your author's life. Now, this is pretty easy to do since a lot of clearly the book is about her life, so you've gotten a lot of good information, but you want to make sure that you're doing a little bit of research. She's actually had a really interesting experience since this book was published, and you might want to include some things like that. But you're going into like, it's basically just a short life story of your author. And the idea is, this paper kind of goes from the point of view that an author or a piece is affected by the author's life and the historical setting that the person is living in. So, for instance, you guys have been reading The Handmaid's Tale. Margaret Atwood wrote that after living in a couple of countries that were pretty totalitarian, and then she basically then fictionalized this in another way. So her experience in those countries absolutely influenced her views and her writing of that book. So that's kind of what you're looking for here too. So again, 300 to 400 words, short life story of your author. The historical setting about 250 to 350. At this point, for her, you may want to talk about She speaks a lot about this survivalist, very anti-government, anti-education home that she came from. And so you might want to research a little bit like where did that come from and how did that affect her and those kinds of things. So then the last bit, another 250 to 350, is the analysis of the writing. Now this is important because it's a little more complex, so I'm going to read this to you pretty much verbatim. You choose a specific piece, which we know what the piece is. The piece is the book Educated. I've used this particular model for this paper in a couple of different classes, so it works pretty well. So talk about its content first. What is it and what is it about? So this is where you'll be saying this is a memoir and it's about her life. Now the thing is though, you don't want to spend a whole bunch of time with summary. It should be main points. It'd be kind of like, think of it as an elevator speech for this book. If you had to summarize the book and what it has to say within 4 to 5 sentences, what would that look like? Then I want you to find some critical analysis of the piece. Now this is where you go and find sources that are analyzing the book, okay? And honestly, a lot of people get really concerned about literary criticism and say, I don't know what literary criticism is, or I don't know if this, I always say anytime a writer is writing about writing or the writing of another writer. And how's that? That helps. That's literary criticism. So really anything you get that is more, a summary would not be literary criticism, but say you get find an article about the book and it talks about the way she tells her story, or whether it's effective or not. All of those things would count as literary criticism. Okay. So again, literary analysis is any time another writer or expert in literature writes about the work of an author. So don't get yourself going in circles wondering if it's literary criticism. If it's about the book, it probably is. What do you think about it? I want you to actually use the word I and talk about your response to this piece. Like, what did you think of the book? If you say you do or don't like it, I want you to explain why, what resonated with you, what didn't resonate with you. Did you like the mood? Was the plot, did it, pull you in? I know I often joke with this book. If I've told you this before, I'm sorry, but I almost missed a stop on the DC subway when I was traveling because of this book, because I got so engrossed in it that I almost missed my stop. So I hope you had a similar experience. Then after you've gone into all that, section 5 is your conclusion. A good conclusion ties up all the main points together and brings the reader, or leaves the reader, with a lasting thought. In this paper, you've looked at the author's life, the world that your author lived in, and then a sample of your author's work. In your conclusion, you should tie all of these together by making a statement about how all of these are related. Okay. Then the second page of the document gives you the specifics on what you need to do. First of all, notice I highlighted to just emphasize again, being within those word counts. That's really important. And notice your word count does not include your works cited page. It's just the body of your paper, okay? Then second, you need your correctly formatted MLA works cited page must list 5 different sources. You must include some non-internet sources. And when I say non-internet, so I'm really, really encouraging you to look at the databases. Databases are considered non-internet. Even though you're accessing them through the internet, they are not open internet, where they are specifically in the databases. So that is considered a non-open internet source, okay? You could have all 5 be from the databases and I'd be happy as a clam. Let's see, you must include some non-internet. The piece of writing that you choose to analyze so the book, Educated, is not considered one of your 5 sources. You don't have to cite it. It's not a bad idea to put a page number if you use a quote, something like that, but it isn't one of your 5 research sources. You must format the paper in MLA. I am noticing, like with the last tests and things like that, many of you didn't have the, your name, my name, the class, and the date at the top. Some of them weren't double spaced. So this is the time to brush up on MLA and let me know if you have questions. We will do a draft of this, and I will have you do a peer edit, or not a peer edit. I'm not going to have you exchange because that can be a little confusing. But I will have you go in and have your paper edited in an academic achievement center or sent in online to an AAC. So that's coming up too. Your paper must be formatted in the latest MLA style. As I said, you must use parenthetical documentation to cite your sources within the text. So notice APA, parenthetical citation. So it's in parentheses, you have the last name and the date. So it'd be like Smith 7. If you're tempted to put the last name and the date, the year, that's APA, and that's not what we're doing. So you want to make sure that you are adhering to MLA standards. So dates, you're going to start your research and have at least 3 sources on that on the 18th, or 5 sources, excuse me. Then we will outline the paper. There'll be a draft 1 of it due. So you have until March 4th until the first draft is due, but that's going to get here before you know it. And then the final draft is due March 11th. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. And I'm happy to answer those for you. So thanks a lot. I hope you guys have a great week.